Welcome to the Empowering Choices Parenting Podcast. My name is Joshua.
I am Lucas.
And I'm Eric.
Lucas and Erik are licensed professional counselors, and today we're talking about Boogeyman Parenting.
You're like really trying to I don't know, put a voice into that or something?
Yeah. Boogeyman Parenting. It sounds like a movie that's coming out or something.
Literally, in 2023, they released a film called Boogeyman based on a short story by Stephen King.
There you go.
When we were looking up information for this podcast, I typed in Boogeyman just to kind of see what I would get. And of course, you get like the hot media, movie.
Right.
Which had you even heard that film was coming out before we looked up those
Not
search results?
the new one, but there's other films in the past that kind
have
of
that
have
title?
the Boogeyman, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the interesting things that I found when I was looking up Boogeyman is it's like almost explicitly like the topic we're talking about is it's the phrase that is used by parents to scare their children into good behavior. Mm-hmm. It's not like it's a mythical creature that has like any other connotation. It's like for this. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's like the thing that Boogeyman Parenting would be of like, yeah, if you don't, what would it be if like, if you don't eat your vegetables, Krampus is going to eat you.
Well, no, I think Krampus was more if you are doing well as a child, Santa Claus will come and bring you presents. If you didn't do well as a child, Krampus will come and take you away.
I think that's what I said.
No, you said if you don't eat your vegetables.
Yes, that was just a specific of the generalization that you just went to.
No, not really. But it's been there. So the Boogeyman, has been kind of a part of parenting options, I should say.
Options.
For centuries, in lots of different cultures.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't act a certain way, bad things will happen.
And I think we found there was some other cultural kind of variations on it. And one of them that surprised me was apparently there's a Boogeyman variation that actually like is helpful and protective to the children who do good things. So like that kind of Santa Claus Krampus example of like there's a boogeyman that like if you do good, then it will be like helpful and protective.
It's a jolly man watching.
Right. Well, I mean,
yeah, I don't know if that's quite it, but close.
Not quite it, but it didn't it also, if your parents didn't do well parenting you, the boogeyman would come and defend you against your parents.
So the boogeyman in the Stephen King film has some of that. So in the film or in the short story, the boogeyman comes as a result of like parental neglect and abuse. Mm-hmm. It's like a personification of that. But it doesn't protect the children, I don't think. I think it is a bad thing all around, but it is like a personification of like parental neglect in the Stephen King. The short story, as is frequently true, the short story is not the same as the film.
Right.
They did not make those completely jive together.
Well, I guess maybe we should jump in and go, what's wrong with Boogeyman Parenting?
I think that's why we originally put this on our list, right?
Exactly.
Because like it's not like I think most of us know that it's a thing, but I mean I think the fundamental thing would be like scaring your children into good behavior is probably not a durable like character building exercise. Would be kind of my instinctual response to like why that's probably a bad idea.
Well, and also I was kind of thinking that you have this on the other side. So we use Santa Claus.
Oh, sure. Right.
As a part of Christmas.
If you're good, then...
If you're good.
Really, yeah, it's kind of two sides of the same coin.
Right. And now I'm just going to give a moment here because I'm going to talk a little bit about the legitimacy of Santa Claus. So I'm just going to pause for a minute.
No idea where you're going to go with that, but keep going.
Okay, just in case there are any kids listening with you and you may not
this
want
is
them as a spoiler... So
if you have children in the room, turn this off now.
Or just kind of remove them from the room a little bit. Okay. All right. So now, when I first found out that Santa Claus wasn't a real thing, I felt this kind of, what do you mean it's not real? Mm-hmm. We put cookies out. We put milk out. Mm-hmm. We write letters. There are songs about him.
Mm-hmm. What have you been doing to me all these years?
What one? Who's eating the cookies for one?
It's probably not the dog.
That's why they always need to be the ones my dad likes the most. Yeah.
Dad knows what Santa Claus likes.
Exactly. And you feel this kind of I felt this kind of a gut punch. Like, you lied to me type thing. Because as kids and as they're younger, they're going to believe a lot of what you say. Like, we almost had fist fights in the neighborhood as to whose dad was toughest. Because, our dads had all said they were toughest.
Oh, good.
And so you're absolutely believing what it is that you're hearing because that's your view of the world and those are your parents, and how could it be wrong? I know adults, even some teachers I had in high school, who said that their ability to trust was completely destroyed when they found out that Santa Claus wasn't real.
That's a real harsh impact on a child out of something that, from the way I understand it, lots of parents do that. They tell children that 100% Santa Claus is real, and then they go through that experience like you did of like, you've been like, no, what?
And my parents came back and said, we never actually said he was real. We said, there is this tradition about Santa Claus that we work with, and you hang stockings, and and so they
kind of played in the middle.
They had really thought through it, as to, because it's like, Santa, wink, wink. And as a kid, you're like, what's the winking about? Do you have something in your eye?
Right. You weren't picking up on it.
No, it wasn't completely being picked up on. And so they had done the best they could to be able to kind of, cushion that impact a little bit.
You said it felt like a gut punch.
But it still felt like a gut punch. Yeah. It still feels like the people in your life that you trust the most for everything are lying to. And so, in Boogeyman Parenting.
Right, I was going to say, take me to the Boogeyman now, yeah.
If at some point your kids, well, I should say, when at some point your kids realize that the Boogeyman isn't real and they were never going to come and it was all a hoax, you have your credibility for how much they're going to believe you from that point on the line, because it's a really big piece for a child who has... maybe they had some real emotions and some guilt and some shame and some fear and, oh my gosh, is he really going to come and get me type piece. And however that was impacting the child is now how it's going to impact your relationship and their trusting of what you say and what you do in some more formative years where you really need to have that.
And it makes me think, like, if there's a parent who wants to use the Boogeyman as a tool, like, I feel like the things that we generally talk about, or I can think of so many alternatives to get to the same result, because it's like, okay, well, you need to be nice to your sister, right? That's the thing that you're telling your child that you want them to do, and you could theoretically follow it up with, and if you don't, the Boogeyman will get you. But it's like, there's so many alternatives that you could plug in for that, of like, well, be nice to your sister, no TV for a week. Like, I think a kid's going to find that equally scary.
And that's where I always went with my kids. Because, what happens, if something does happen to that child? I mean, just something in life. They get in a car wreck. They get in, some medical condition happens. They get cancer. Now, does the sister also think that the Boogeyman got him? Because nice to him?
Something bad happened, therefore it was...
Cause and effect.
Yep, it's a cause and effect. It's pull into your house different types of toys, different types of privileges, different types of activities. That way you have things that your kids enjoy and you have currency to work with. If we don't hit in this house and therefore you need to go spend some time in timeout and think about that. Now, why did you go to timeout? Because I hit my sister. What do we not do? We don't hit. Okay, let's go back and play. Verse, if you hit your sister again, the Boogeyman will come and get you around Christmas.
Well, that seems like that's almost kind of when I'm thinking about it is like, don't make threats or promises that you can't follow through on to your children.
Right.
Don't tell your child, if you eat all your vegetables, we're going to Disneyland, and then don't follow through on it.
Right.
And so this almost seems like it just very directly falls into there of like, if you're not nice to your sister, the Boogeyman will get you. And it's like, well, that's you're calling upon this fictional supernatural, like, that's just rolling dice. That sounds hazardous.
Yeah, I've had clients who, their parents said, "Look, if you get all A's, in your classes, we'll take you to Disneyland." Mm-hmm. And those that they said, "If you get all A's, we'll buy you a pony." Neither of which happened.
But the kids followed through on their end.
Kids followed through, and they did get A's, and they were looking forward to Disneyland,
or
and
a
they
pony.
were looking forward to a pony, and now your credibility is on the line.
That's the takeaway.
That's the huge part.
Interact with your kids in a trustworthy manner, because if you utilize these other things that feel like they have a lot of power behind them, but like Santa Claus or the Boogeyman or a pony.
Short term.
Sure.
It's very short term.
Yeah.
And honestly, it does take more involvement, and it is a bigger battle to say, listen, you just lost your Xbox for a week for hitting your sister. And you have to be on top of that, and you have to be consistent. But in the long run, it will be a much better route to being able to parent and mold their behavior than using Krampus or the Boogeyman.
So bottom line, Boogeyman parenting, using the Boogeyman, should it be a parenting tool, or would it be better just to skip it all together if you had to take one or the other?
Well, we would suggest truthful consequences and statements to your children.
So there is no Boogeyman.
Based on the impact of what it can do to a child's trusting relationship to you.
That's the risk.
Yep.
That's your risk. And I have always shied away from that because I didn't want to put that on the line.
Yeah, that sounds good. Well, if you enjoyed this podcast and you want to hear some more, definitely make sure to like and subscribe, and then check out our website at empoweringchoices.parenting, or download our app by searching Empowering Choices Parenting in the App Store, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Or else the Boogeyman will get you.